So I got 2 packages, although I think this big one is not anime stuff. But we might as well open it because it's maybe kind of cool anyways. I mean, one of the 2 things in here should be cool. That would of course be this thing, which is Callie and Mari Amiibos. Cool. And the other would just be some aux cables. So that would be short for auxiliary, as in like backup, but really just referring to the fact that I can now plug my phone directly into my car. I might have had one of those plugs around, but I figured I should have some dedicated to the task. There's not a lot of anime this week. So obviously, there we go. First, we have When They Cry Rei. That would be 5 episodes, season 3. Which is good that more of this is coming out. I guess I need to watch this possibly while season 3 is, or season 2 is in mine thing. She's wearing not many clothes on the back, whoever she is. I don't know. All I know is I need to, let's take one of these. Interesting. Oh, it's open. So let's very quickly look at the back. Japanese with English subtitles only, region A only. It's about what's expected. Alright, so we got 2 characters there. That's very little clothing there. And in the DVD version, same disc art. It's good and simple. Next up, we've got Log Horizon 2, Season 2. Okay. Sorry, it's Log Horizon Season 2, Collection 2, as in like, this one doesn't have that sealing, the side sealed like the other Sentai Blu-rays. But yeah, it basically means there's more Log Horizon out on DVD Blu-ray. This is probably my next thing I'm going to watch. I guess we'll open this up. Actually, this one's kind of neat. I guess just because of the blue sky there. That's the one not present in the Blu-ray version here. So I recognize this cliffs and that. I don't know, is that an ashtray? I doubt it. Those are flowers, okay. So that's kind of the reality of not paying complete attention. As for the back, region A only, dubbed only, which is consistent with everything else. And last but not least, we have One Piece Season 8 Voyage 2, which I did watch Season 8 Voyage 1, right? 469. Hard to remember. I'll figure it out if I haven't watched. I'm pretty sure I watched it. It's just numbers are tricky to remember. It is still simple. We've got a 2 and we've got a 1. The spines have 1 and a 2. You might not remember, but one of them had 2 1s for some reason. Could probably figure out what it is, but that actually could take a while. Is that really everything? I guess that's everything. This week's anime DVD collection update. Now, maybe I'm not remembering correctly, but I'm pretty sure I had not finished Den Coil Collection 1 as of my recording last week. I wonder what I can remember about it. About the stuff I watched that I hadn't commented about. Where was it going with its theming? It's continued to be a strange series. I'm not sure what to make of it, but it's kind of entertaining. I guess some of the things I can think about that I might not have talked about is maybe the general feeling of it. It's kind of like, even though it has this real technological edge to it, there's an element of it that's kids being kids despite this stuff. You know, because like if you think about shows or entertainment in which there are kids and there isn't a lot of technology present, there's no cell phones or computers or anything like that, then it's not unusual for a show to have, especially in a smaller town sort of setting, these elementary to middle school kids just kind of wandering through the town, doing things, looking at things, observing things. Maybe you could add an element of wonder to it, maybe that would be their imagination, but this one kind of just makes that wonderment and imagination of exploring kind of more, I guess, something the audience can watch a bit more while watching the show itself, just because there is this little bit of the mystery of the unknown going on. And that is kind of neat. I'm trying to think if I can come up with something that's like an example of it, but it's hard to think of. I just think it's kind of like taking an old meme and applying the technology heavily enough to it such that it works out again, I guess, because otherwise sometimes you end up with things that don't make sense. Like I think I complained about this one show which was about the Moon Princess person, and I think there was somebody who couldn't cook. Anyways, the main guy ran into the person because he was lost despite having a phone with a built-in map and GPS capabilities. And I guess when he grew up, he probably went on a mission to some alien planet, and they made a movie about that called Prometheus. Maybe. I don't know. That's an example of the technology stuff not feeling quite right. Like it has to be coincidental, where it's like you have to ignore the reality of the situation despite the setup. And that's one of those complicated things where some of the old memes don't work because of how society has changed. And that's why sometimes when you watch something like, say, Shiki, it'll take place in a version of Japan in which there aren't necessarily a lot of phones. There's technology, but you can kind of feel it is pre-internet technology sorts of stuff. And I don't know, things like that are neat, but at the same time, this is an exploration in carrying some memes forward, and I think it's actually pretty successful in that regard. So I watched the second half of Yona of the Dawn. Of the Dawn, yes. And as far as I know, this ends everything that's been adapted to anime from this franchise, which is kind of unfortunate because I thought it was pretty good. This one's a little slower than the first half, but it's not really worse off. I mean, because it's kind of a lot of this stuff, even though there's kind of different segments of it in the first half of it, you can kind of get a good feeling of what it's building up towards. In this second half, while it slows down a bit, and I don't want to go into more details of what exactly I mean by that, it's kind of relevant for developing where it's supposed to be going in the future. And at this point, it's not exactly reached a stopping point, but it has reached an appropriate pausing point. You can think of it sort of like how the end of the first season of Attack on Titan ends at a good pausing point. There's some good drama, although there is a trickiness that they had to change ever so slightly the emotions of that in order to make it a energetic finale, I guess. But this one, I don't know if things have changed from the original source material, if this is the original source material, but it's something I definitely want to see a lot more of, because it did not wrap things up at all by the end. It didn't even leave it at a place where it's like, and now you can kind of speculate where the future goes from here, sort of deal. It feels like it's incomplete, and I certainly hope that means that more is going to be adapted when more material is available or something, because it's actually a pretty good show. I mean, if you can't tell from this, especially since, yeah, this is a reverse harem, and this is probably a really good example of a good, strong reverse harem. The kind of thing where you can enjoy it even if you wouldn't be the kind of guy who would care about being in the harem lusting after a specific girl. It's like great to watch outside of that context, so you don't have to think of things in that regard at all. You can just enjoy it because it's good storytelling and you want to cheer for the characters, and they have somewhat goofy but also realistic motivations, I suppose, that are... the show's definitely not the sort of thing that's just, oh, here's a girl, let's lay the carpet out before her and everything goes well. I'm trying to think if Fushigi Yugi was kind of like that, but I don't remember the details well enough. It tried to be a little spotty, but it did so by staying in this, oh, this is the thing that girls really like, this tension of this moment, oh, will they ever be together, and it tries to overuse that one. That Fushigi Yugi is a little weak in that regard because of that. Yona of the Dawn doesn't have that weakness at all, and in fact, our main character is actually a very respectable person and understandable, and she has some great character growth and thoughts, and the anime isn't afraid of being a little complicated, and it makes it an enjoyable watch. And then I watched the first half of Wagnaria 3. That would be working exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, for those of you who don't know. I think that's because the name of the restaurant might be Wagnaria, and working as the title doesn't work in English as well as it does in Japanese, maybe. Anyways, content-wise, this has actually become a pretty good series. The first season is a little rocky. It's got some fun aspects to it, but it's also very... oh, look at people suffer the anime. And second season I think got better, and third season they're actually doing stuff with everything they've set up. I mean, maybe they did stuff with everything they set up in the second season, but I don't remember it in detail well enough to say for certain. But I don't remember feeling that way watching it, so that makes me think that this one's doing a better job, I guess. It's hard to say for certain, but I probably would have liked to continue watching more if the second half was out, which I think it's coming out soon enough. It's a month or two, but yeah, it's all cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything I can really talk about that's not spoilerish for people who either haven't watched a series or have watched a series but haven't watched the third season yet. Yeah, basically, if you kind of didn't like the slapstick of the first season, but you thought it was a fun series anyways, the third season is definitely better in that regard. That element's still there, but there's more interesting things going on. So it's more like just a holdover from poor choices the show made in terms of how characters interact. It's like, yeah, this guy hits people with a pot pen, and this person threatens with something. I don't know. Outside of that, I've actually really not done a whole lot else. My permanent card finally arrived, and I pre-ordered all of next month's anime on Saturday. So it was changing over Amazon, some right stuff orders, etc. So if this order seems a little small because there maybe could have been a couple of right stuff things, I don't think it would have arrived in time if it shipped on Sunday. Well, and that's the Perso card. I did order the replacement Lull in the Sea, so and that shipped, so we should see. I guess technically the right stuff order hasn't shipped yet, but pre-ordered stuff. What is notable that was pre-ordered? I tried to look over it before. I'm not sure how much I can remember. Barakamon. I'm interested in that one, assuming I even pronounced it right. Vague idea on how I would describe it to people, but I'm not going to try in case I get it really wrong. But a lot of people on the Reddit anime subreddit, it was referenced quite a bit, I think, which makes me think it's a pretty notable thing coming out. Sailor Moon Crystal's also on the horizon, pre-ordered there. Pretty sure there was more. I know the second half of Crossing, Guro, the animation, a couple more continuations I just can't remember. So there's stuff. I know the next volume of the Attack on Titan manga comes out alongside a DVD, and so that's pre-ordered. Walking Dead, Season 6. Huh. Kinda hard to remember everything. I guess it's kind of the problem of pre-ordering anime when you're in a very exhausted state and going over the list of stuff that you pre-ordered. And it's not even the complete list because it doesn't include all the Right stuff that I pre-ordered, which includes that the Blu-ray version of that one hentai that came out this month. So I don't know. It's all stuff. I guess we'll just have to find out what they are, and that's the nice thing about forgetting about this stuff is it's a pleasant surprise. Although today's I had to pay extra close attention to just because One Piece is a priority watch, so I needed to. Monster Hunter Generations. I'm not really making very much progress in that. I guess I'm just mostly spending my evenings zoning out, which sometimes works for the Monster Hunter because sometimes I'm watching Planet Earth, the BBC documentary stuff, and sometimes just monster hunting while doing that. Sometimes just adding stuff to my servers, my databases and stuff. I did try Starbound 1.0 that released a couple days ago, like Friday. Yeah, I think it was Friday. And it's maybe a little bit more than a couple, but it was very interesting starting it. It starts very differently than anything I've seen. I've only seen the humans start, so I don't know if like the other races have their own things. That's something I would check out, but I'm not in that big of a rush, I guess. So it's all good. And I haven't progressed very far in the tech tree. It's nice how there's a lot more complicatedness to the tech tree. Like, it's not so much build a workbench, build an anvil, or is that Terraria I'm thinking about? Now it feels like it's divided amongst a lot more stuff than maybe it was before. Some of the things that are made here versus there, I mean, you can't produce as big of a inventory right off the bat. You know, you can't just clear all the trees off the planet and then convert them into a giant super base as easily. There are little things that make that a little trickier, but there's other things that give you more options and flexibility. So I want to try to keep playing that just so I can see how much variety it supports, because I mean, Monster Hunter may not seem like it, but I have been much more of a casual gamer lately. And again, even if Monster Hunter doesn't seem like it, it very is, just because you can do something like say, okay, so this one introduces the arts, so I'm going to go with the very basic one that's, you basically fight like you did in the previous games. I'll add these two things on because they could be helpful when they happen, but I'm just using longsword like I always have and making little progress here and there. It's definitely a more casual way to play it, sort of like what I used to do with Team Fortress, but it's kind of harder to be as casual with Monster Hunter, I think. Not that that's a bad thing. Anyways, I guess that's everything. Can't think of what else to talk about, so y'all have a nice week.